Men's Couch. I'm back. Demetri. Mike is here as well.
Yep, I'm back to this. So we're starting season 2 of Men's Couch. We're back from the break, and we're ready to talk more about some topics.
Yes, I know you guys have been dying to hear me again. It's been I think 4 or 5 episodes since I've been on, so it's good to be back. We spent 40 minutes trying to figure this out, so finally we were able
Yeah, we
to
had
do it.
some audio problems.
Really annoying, but we're here now, so that's all that matters. So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about grief. Are we talking about grief, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about grief and how I feel like what we've kind of sort of realized over when we were talking over break was how men deal with grief, like how we deal with grief and traumatic things that happen to us. I feel like we I don't know. I don't have, my question would be, before we go to the question, I just want the listeners to know that that's what we were talking about, and that's why we decided that grief is an important topic to discuss on the podcast, because I try to make it happy, but there's still things. Grief still needs to be talked about, and I we kind of realized that men have a hard time talking about grieving over things.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like it's something that no one really talks about because it's really touchy, but at the same time, it's not that you forget about it quickly, but it's not something that happens all the time. It's only gonna happen. Well, if you're lucky, it's not gonna happen that many times in your life. Well, not until you're older. I feel like men our age don't really experience it, but when they experience it for the first time, they don't really, because the first. Okay, well, I don't know if we're diving in already to what grief we went through, how we got. I don't know if we're doing that right now.
So I mean, you can include that in here. You can talk about it if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah. So I obviously everyone has deaths that you because I went to a couple funerals, but not to be rude, I didn't really know them that well. I was so sad. Obviously funerals were pretty depressing place to be, but I didn't really know the person. Honestly, for a while, the sad stuff that I had was 3 or 4 years ago. Up until a different one, but it was my dog. But when my dog died, it was just honestly the first thing that I think of is just it kind of just felt kind of unreal. I was dang, he just doesn't walk or he just isn't prancing around anymore. But I guess the main thing, I don't really know how I mean I guess the way I got through it was just similar to I feel like I'm busting a broken record. If you guys remember me from my episode talking about how to deal with a breakup, I feel like this is very similar, kind of in the sense that I guess I did. I mean, in the same sense that I'm just gonna distract myself. Well, back then I didn't lift. Lifting is so important. I definitely had to get your mind off stuff. But when you're younger, you just play more games. I just play games. Hang out with friends. But yeah, those are the main ways that I dealt with it. I mean, like anything, time will heal it. I mean, I'm not saying I don't care anymore. It's so sad to look back on it, but it's I'm not torn up about it or anything anymore.
Not like you were.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go too depth into my grief yet. I think talking over the break with Gary made me realize how we kind of sort of can maybe unconsciously suppress grief by just because we're always hearing that from sometimes people around us, or we do it to ourselves, that you need to be over it by a certain amount of time. But
yes,
grief has no timeline. That's what I've learned through grieving, is that it has no timeline. Sometimes you think you're over it, and then it just comes back kind of sort of out of nowhere sometimes, and it just no one should feel shame about grieving something that even had to happen 5 years ago, because even if it happened 5 years ago, you can still grieve it, and it's still affecting you, and you can acknowledge that it's affecting you, but without it, because I think men, this is my perspective, so please take this lightly. I think men sometimes want to distance from the grief by saying, well, it's in the past, so it doesn't affect me now. But I think it's still like I think it still can in ways that we don't always know because it's just you might not be like crying every day about it, but sometimes if you're like ruminating about it or like thinking about like before you go to bed, then you might have some like unprocessed grief. That's like in my like what I've had to deal with in my life is that usually I will distance myself from grief because I've always been uncomfortable with my emotions, but
Yeah.
I'm learning to be I'm learning to be more comfortable with that.
Heck yeah.
Growing up, that wasn't a thing for me, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, I
So,
remember one thing that we talked about that like we both agreed on was that like having like someone you know like going through grief, like Gary
oh
talked about
yeah,
like so.
how do you support someone?
Okay,
That's
because
another thing that we need to
yes,
like sort of like how do we support someone else going
because
through grief? Because
I
I'm
hate
always
sorry for your loss. I feel like that's just like you just bring it up. I
I
think that is
know
like
I'm always saying like I'm sorry like I did something like I
it doesn't
didn't
make any sense.
yeah
Like
because
why
we would
are
say well
we?
oh I'm sorry but like you didn't do anything to cause the loss so like why are we saying that we're sorry?
It's more of just like because like, I think Gary said it too. Well, this isn't that personal, but like I think he
Mm-hmm.
said like it's just to like to show that you care, I guess. But at the same time, it's like I, I don't know. I don't really.
I think we're also like not comfortable being with someone in their grief because we kind of like don't know like we don't know how to deal with our own grief. Then when we watch someone go through the grief, we're like oh my gosh, like it can like trigger our own grief feelings if we're watching someone deal with their own grief. But I've learned over time that just being with someone in their grief does more than just you saying like oh I'm sorry that like it's like better because you're with them and sometimes saying something you don't always know the right thing to say and I think if you're trying to say something to like maybe because it's the moment's uncomfortable so you want to say something
Yeah,
to that person
because it's like deep
but it's
attention.
yeah it's like you want to say something but that's not always like gonna work.
One thing that Gary did say that like really spoke with me. Okay, it's fine. We're name dropping Gary a lot right now. But like one thing that he said that I actually like, I was like, dang, he's actually spitting with this. It was like it's
Spitting.
better to yeah. No, sorry, I should say that. I agree with it. Saying like I really like the saying. It's better to say nothing sometimes. What was it saying? It's like it's better to say nothing. I forgot what it was, but he's basically saying like it's better to say nothing than something sometimes, which is like really true.
Water.
Yeah, but I can go on a little tangent about.
Boys don't cry. I'm kidding.
It's been a while since I've cried actually. Well, actually, okay, I've teared up to like a movie. That's off topic.
Oh, I cried this holiday break.
Where are we going into detail or
Well,
like?
we don't have to.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't have to talk
So
about
I
it
can just
yet.
like
We won't talk
okay. I
about it
teared up
yet.
watching Attack on Titan. It's a really good show. You guys should watch it. But
The anime?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Will you watch anime?
I used to.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Wait. Have you watched Attack on Titan?
Yeah, but this
We can talk about it later.
no.
Okay. So anyways, all right. That's off topic. So I'll go on a little tangent as to like my first. Okay, not like my first remembrance of grief. I'll talk about it maybe later. But talking about like how I helped a friend get through it. So like I was still pretty young. I might have been like 5th or 6th grade. But my friend, shout out Tristan, if you're listening to this, his like stepdad. Sorry, I'm sorry, Tristan. I'm exposing you, Lou. I hope you don't mind. Not really exposing him. It's just like I'm saying. So like, it does give an example. So yeah, his stepdad like died in like 5th or 6th grade, and I feel like at the time I didn't really like, cause like that was one of the
You
first.
don't have like the emotional like maturity to know how to do that. I think at 5th or 6th grade. If you do, then
No, so anyways, what I was
kudos to
saying,
you.
I feel like it was very hard for me to actually like process it. 'Cause, like I was just like, first of all, when you're a kid, not to be rude, you don't really care as much when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Not to be like not in a mean way, but at the same time also, not to say I didn't care. Because now I'm thinking back to it, that was probably like one of the first deaths I experienced where like, I don't explain it. It's
It
like
was like a traumatic.
it was a no, well kind of,
that
but no.
impacted somebody.
It was the first death I ever had where like I had like talked to the person before they died,
Okay.
and then like I don't know if that makes sense. Like
They're just gone.
yeah, like I actually had like a conversation with this guy and talked to him, and then like it was just weird not seeing him there. But it was like I don't really know. I don't really know if I did a good job helping it through or not when I'm thinking back to it. But at the same time, it's like I remember like we went to like a movie like shortly after that.
Mm-hmm.
I was so bad. Like he was like saying how like I don't know. like let's thinking back to it, I was like, I don't know if I did a good job because I didn't really know what I was doing. I still really don't, but
Okay.
because I haven't really had to deal with that since that then. So
Like a death like that.
okay, I mean like helping someone. Like obviously I've
Oh,
had
helping
death.
someone.
I mean
Okay.
I mean I've had death. I don't know if I want to. That death. There's one death I'm not going to talk about because it's like a little personal, but
Okay.
it could be good for the
You
podcast.
don't
So,
have
like,
to. You don't have to talk.
only
about
if you. I don't know. Like it could be good content.
But yeah, I'm just like I'm. So in my grief journey, I like realized like where like the pressures, and on this podcast I talk a lot about like the pressures of like masculinity and how like we approach our emotional selves. I think over time I've learned to just like be okay with grief and see grief as like more of like a more of a good thing, not the situation itself but the grief reaction, because we're always growing up. I was like sort of like, as you know, I guess the boys, how we're socialized. Well, for me and like personally, I was like sort of socialized to not like deal with that type of feeling, like boys don't cry. Like, why are you crying? Like,
Yeah.
you
Oh
should
yeah.
be
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
this by now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you should.
We talked about that before. Yeah.
And there's like kind of like this pressure of, I think, well, when you get older, I feel like you kind of like internalize that, but you don't know that you internalize that. Like that's how you like when you grow up like that, then you're like sort of like unconsciously distancing yourself from grief because you've been taught that that's like not that's uncomfortable. Which grief is painful, it's uncomfortable, but if you were just told like men don't cry, then you're gonna think it's weird that if you when you do cry or when you're experiencing these
Yeah.
grief like moments. And that's kind of like what I've had to face within the past couple of years, is like being okay with grief and processing it and learning how to process it and just let it be, which I do with journaling a lot. So I'm just saying, I'm a huge writer.
Yes.
So um, that's how I deal with grief. I'm more of like, I know, because I'm what's called like I don't know if you know what an HSP is, like highly sensitive person.
Oh.
If you ever
Okay. I think.
looked that online. And I like when I experience grief, like I like it's super like deep. It's super when HSPs like experience emotions, it's like very like deep for me. And that's why I've turned to like writing and journaling and also just sitting with the grief whenever I'm going through it. And it's also just a lot of just stepping outside of the male code, or like
The male code.
the rules that you kind of have to like
Yeah.
Yeah. do, because it's just like boys don't cry. Like, you shouldn't cry. Like, why are you crying? Like, toughen it up.
Just tears. Just tearing out,
or
not
just
actual.
or just like, and well, my thing is that how I've internalized that message is I distance myself from grief. I'm just like, you know what, I like, not consciously, but I'll just like try to like not think about like distance from it.
That's one thing. Okay, actually, there's two things. One thing. Okay, you guys remind me of something. I feel like when I one thing I learned from like, I guess grief, but similar to grief, like I said, relationships. I feel like I bring this up too much, but anyways, it's just like I feel like I was in denial about it. Not in denial about it, but yeah, actually I was. There's a really way to put it. I was just kind of like.
It's like a stage of grief, I think.
It is, but like I was in that stage for like too long. It was like months, and then it was like to the point where like I would like message her and be like,
like bargaining.
yeah, it was bad.
Okay.
That's the word.
Like bargaining, like, cause I feel like part of you is just like, well, they don't really want to break up. Like, I gotta convince them that they don't want to do it. Or you do that, like you're not consciously thinking that, but you're
It's
trying
like,
to like get back what you wish you had.
my mindset was that like for whatever reason, even though she gave me no signs, I was like, yeah, she'll take me back for some reason.
Yeah.
That's like the mindset I had.
That's like, so I don't want to talk about like my grief too early in the podcast, but my more recent grief is mostly related to friends that like have just distance themselves from me or like ghosted me, it's usually like from high school. They kind of just disappeared, and around the holidays, like it came up because like I was like looking through my phone at pictures of the people from high school that ghosted me, and I was just looking at it. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this person, and like I was talking to you about.
That's why I got to delete old. I just deleted like old photos like recently, so I was like, all right, I actually got I can't be reminiscing anymore.
Because like it was like I was like grieving like that because you grieve many things. You don't just grieve one thing. You grieve like the loss of not just the relationship but the potential that it could have went to.
Yes.
That you like the dream of that friendship or relationship.
Definitely.
You grieve that, and you also grieve. You have like nostalgia of that time because you feel like, oh, those were such good times back then, even though they ghost you or whatever. Or,
Yes.
Or
yeah, no, that's like one
it
thing.
ends in like a.
Reminiscing is a bad habit, but like I feel like I haven't been doing like well, as more time passed on, I wasn't doing as much, but it's a bad habit.
But that's kind of like what happened with my grief. How I've learned to deal with like that grief is just to accept many losses because there's not just one loss. I've learned to accept the loss of how, because I'm like that. I'm a person that like I will reach out to you, even if it feels like the person's not really like, you know, in the same emotional space. So how I've learned to deal with it is just accepting the loss of who you think the person is, because you think the person is somebody that they're not really capable of like having like a communication thing. So you're grieving like the loss of that.
Yeah.
You're grieving the loss of that, and you're grieving the loss of what you envisioned the relationship to be, what it could have been.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's many things, just like, and that's why I think like grief doesn't just come in just one time. Like you might have like the aftermath of the fact of the grief. You might have like the aftermath and like the shock, but I like this happened like a long time ago, and I still have grief like during like Christmas because at the time of this podcast, this is like after Christmas, so that's when like a lot of grief happens.
Yeah.
You know,
That's,
supposed to like
that's what Gary said.
that's like the expectation
Me
is
too.
happy holidays, but like do you experience grief during the holidays?
Because like there's things like you don't think about for like a while, and then like for whatever reason, like
just
when you're
comes
like
up during
when all your
Christmas.
family's around, you're just like it's like cause you just like think it. You're like, well, because especially like someone's gonna change in a year.
Yeah, and like it's just dealing with change, which is another thing that causes grief for me. But so I think it just like just sorry.
Okay.
So it's just grief comes, and I think it's good that it doesn't come all at once. Because if it came all like in a wave crashing at you at once, then you'll probably die.
Die.
Like you wouldn't be, because I think and this is like my theory is that like we don't process grief all at once. We process it maybe like a year or months down the line, so that we can process it in chunks, because that's like how we can process it. It's like better to process it in chunks versus all at once. Because you know how you go through stages of grief, like you have to go through like the denial stage.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah, you can't go through all stages
like,
at once.
Yeah, you can't go through all
That's what
stages
you're
at
saying.
once.
Yeah.
I was like, I lost him.
No, I know what you're saying.
So like if you just like dealing with like in the first couple of months, for me it was like shock, like oh my gosh, like this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Because it was like shock, and then trying to reach out to this person, like in my head I'm like believing that it would work, but it's not. And then there's like the acceptance part where you have to accept that this is not ever going to change.
Yeah.
This is like grief over like relationships. This isn't like, so this is like different than grieving. For those of you that don't know, my great grandmother passed like last Christmas. Yeah, she passed last Christmas. That's a different type of loss for me, because she passed, but she left like a huge legacy. Like for me,
I want to say one thing. Well, I feel like not to like interrupt, but I feel like at the same time too, if she's your great grandmother, she probably lived like a long life too.
yeah, she was 86.
Yeah. Okay.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, that's pretty long.
But she the grief was different because she left an impact on me and my sister's life. Like she made sure that we were just on the right track. She like every week she would call us and we would go over her house, have family time. Like that's
Those are the
gosh, I'm
precious.
gonna like make me tear up. But she that grief is different because I know for those of you that don't know, I'm a Christian and I believe in just life after like eternal life. I believe life after this, and I believe that she is in a she like her life didn't end here. Her life doesn't end here, and that's how like I deal with like my grief, knowing like who she was. Like I want to be that type of person that like is loving and caring for people, but there's that loss. Like I still grieved it. Like I was still sad about it, but I feel like I wasn't as sad as like dealing with like the loss of like friends. Like but it's like not resolved. So it's like it's what's called an ambiguous loss, where it's just like not resolved.
I heard that.
Where the person just like there's no resolve at all. Like you.
Yeah, I've had loss like that. Wait,
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So, I also have another way that I overcame like I guess grief, but in the sense that it was more of like a mindset thing for me where I see videos, and it's just true in general. In my situation, like not death. I'm talking about like what I was talking about earlier.
Relationships.
Yeah. So like I feel like just dwelling on it and just hoping for the best. It's just like a.
It's like like
It's
a
the
trap.
easy way out. It's the easy way out.
What?
And this like grieving, just like hoping she would come back. I feel like was the easy way out because like it made me mad lazy. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But then like and I saw a video. It was like what are you doing? Like why do you keep caring? And I was like, you know what? That's why I started hitting the gym because like it stretches your mind and then you actually like. That's what helped me. Anyone going through grief, any like breakups, you just need to like, okay, take your time because like, it took me a long time. When I saw a video, you just need to like, not care anymore because like they're not gonna come. Okay, it's very unlikely. Okay, if they broke up with you, they're not like they're not coming back. They're not coming back. So it's like, just focus on yourself. As soon as you can accept that, you'll be good. But I thought something else, like Gary said. I think Gary said it, that like I agreed with 100%. Is like you have to go through like a traumatic experience like that to like grow as a person.
Yeah, and that like if you don't see like I've learned to deal with like my like think more critically about like the like stuff like the grief that I go through. It's like no, I'm gonna use this to help me grow as a person. Like this could be a good season of growth. Versus me just like wallowing in self-pity because you go through like that pity stage.
Yeah, I definitely.
You go through that stage where it's just like oh my gosh, and then you go through like you're like sort of like beating yourself up about it.
Yeah, or you always think it's your fault.
Or you so here's what I do. I either beat myself up or like try to put it on them. Like it's this person's like crazy.
Yeah,
I'll do
it's
that.
Both. It's literally
I'll
both.
do that. I'll do both.
That's so real.
I'll do both, and then I'll just and then after a while, I think like you sort of just like, well, it's not really it's like them or it's me. Like they're not the problem. I'm not the problem. It's just have to like accept like it's not working. It's like, this doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what because like after like after it happened, I was kind of like yeah, this probably wasn't gonna like realistically this probably wasn't gonna work out anyway. Well, I don't know. I mean like people ask me all the time, and this is like a tough question to answer so much. They're like, what would you do if like she said something and like back to you like right now? I'd be like, I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. 'Cause I don't think that's gonna happen. People like ask me that. I'm like, why? Like I don't even want to think of it. 'Cause I don't even know. Part of me thinks I would take her back, but I don't know. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, and just grief is hard, and I kind of like grief is like painful for me. Very very painful to like.
Can't be true, yeah.
You know, like some days. Especially over break, I would like experience it, and it's like, what on earth? I thought, because grief is like one of those things where you think you're done with it, but it comes back at you. Usually, for me, I don't know the trigger. Like, why am I like thinking about this right now? But sometimes it will just be like it might be like a thought, like you think about.
Yep.
A memory.
Yep.
Or you just like think about them, and it just like sort of triggers all those.
That's
like,
why you gotta delete the pictures.
I mean, I don't really delete the pictures.
Delete the pictures.
I don't delete the pictures, but
it'll help you.
I don't know. I'm not really about like just deleting everything. I use the pictures to like help me process it, cuz oh, that's like we were like still friends or still partners at that time, but I can look back on the friendship or relationship and look at what I got from it
No.
and see it, like, just have like an objective view of it. Because I
Okay.
think
I
if you're
mean,
in grief, if you're like feeling all the grief, your perspective might be a little bit tainted by like the sadness, because if it's just a very melancholic attitude toward
oh yeah.
the relationship, then it's not fully accurate. It's not fully accurate. So
Sorry.
so
It's my
you're
mom.
you're likely to have like a more like melancholic view of the like relationship, especially after, if you're going through that shock phase like I did. I was like like what the frick, like it just kind of happened. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought this was
Yeah.
like
That's
going
really
to
normal.
be, because I had that expectation that it was just going to be like forever, but it turns out it wasn't. um but yeah, I think going through grief helped me to mature about
Definitely.
how I view things, like
Definitely.
about like how I view myself. Made me realize that I did not have a good relationship with myself, because I took the burden upon myself that it was my fault. Um, but over time, grief became my friend. I'm just saying, I like grief.
That sounds so like weird out of context.
I don't know, like, because before I was like avoiding it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna deal with that. But over time, I'm just like, no, I have to learn how to, because I'm going to be grieving things in life. So instead of like avoiding it, I have to learn how to actually like allow it to be in my life, instead of just like distancing
I see what you're
myself.
saying.
Like, ugh,
Oh. Oh yeah. I feel like
shh,
what?
nothing.
Why? Okay. I feel like one tough thing sometimes that's like okay. Well, I have something after this too. But I feel like one tough thing sometimes that like I somewhat experienced was like I feel like if someone died and like that I like someone like pretty like very close to me like in my family
Mm.
someone died and like I feel like things didn't end good for us, so like that was bad.
Oh crap.
Okay, well I don't. Okay,
That's a
no.
different type of loss. It's like
Well, no. I
unresolved.
mean, not really. I mean, because it was like I don't know. It's not, like I can explain the story. It's just I was just
You don't have to.
no. Well, it would just be a long story, but like it was just like a bad situation, and like apparently he didn't have hard feelings for me when he died, but I still think he did because like I sent him like a text that wasn't like it's hard to explain. Like I basically
So
said
basically, grieving the death of someone that you didn't end on good terms.
yeah because I basically like said I didn't want to see this person anymore, and that
Oh.
was and he died like a month later.
Oh crap! That's like whoa.
Yeah, so it was
Whoa.
pretty rough.
Yeah.
But I mean, one thing I will say, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna add to that, but I was gonna say, wait, wait, am I too quiet?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, my fault. One thing I do want to add is like, this might sound bad, but like, you can't. I feel like you can't use grief as like an excuse, if
What
that
do you
makes
mean by
sense.
that? Like,
Like,
elaborate on that.
okay, so obviously, everyone heals differently, but you can't use that as an excuse for like everything. Like, you can't like, so like, if, for example, if you're like not doing anything with your life and like you're still clinging on to the past,
Oh, okay. You
I feel
can't
like
use that as an
that
excuse.
happens all. That I feel like
That's like unproductive
that
grief.
happens
Then
though.
it does.
People make like you like use like people will use anything for excuses, and that sounds so bad. But like I feel like after
Are
a
you
certain
saying
time,
like as an excuse to like not move on? Like they're just grieving
that
it,
too.
like
But like
not
an
move on.
excuse to like not do anything with their life. But like oh like they
Like
were
a
everything.
hopeless
Yeah, like they
thing.
were everything to me. I can't move on.
Oh, okay.
Like I feel like you can't cling on to that. Like I don't know. That's why
Yeah.
you said okay. I think we like butted heads on this.
Whoa.
We butted heads. Like
Conflict.
we disagreed because I was saying like oh don't think about the past.
Oh. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you remember
We
that?
did have like a little like.
I said only
Yeah,
besides like
everyone has like different
core
views
memories,
about
but like
that.
some things like don't besides like core memories and like nostalgia do not just don't. It's like I feel like it's only like it's a downward slope. Yeah, that's just me though.
I mean, I have like a different perspective. I think like the past can be helpful, and like
Not for grief. Not for grief.
I think that the past, for me, past grief can be helpful, in the perspective that it helps you understand your present self, like why I am the way I am. I think past grief can like help you reflect. If you reflect
Yeah.
on past grief through like a more like a mature lens, like, but you have grace for yourself, and like your past self, like my like you grieve basically, um like that's where I was at that time. What can I like sort of what like insights can I like gain from that, and how much have I grown?
Yeah, like,
That's how I view it.
I feel like it is cliche to say, but like you will grow from like
Yeah.
any trauma like that.
Yeah,
But
and
that's what
this,
everyone says, but like it is true. Like we can both say that like firsthand.
yeah. And the thing about time, there's like a, I don't know, like I'm not black and white on time heals like everything, time heals all wounds. I'm not like a
That is true.
I'm not like either or, like it either does or doesn't.
Oh my gosh, that's the most truest quote of all time.
I think time can help, but I think some, like with when you're dealing with grief, just because a lot of time has passed doesn't mean like it's like the feeling is necessarily gone. For me, that's like my experience, and I think
You know,
a
but
lot
once
of
more time
people,
passes, it will.
it probably will lessen, but it
Yep.
won't like fully. What?
It'll be gone, is what I'm
Well, you have a different perspective.
saying.
I like my perspective is.
Well, your different perspective.
Huh?
That's just funny.
My perspective is that it takes time. It takes time, but grief isn't in like the timeline sense that we have as like I should be over this by like 3 months. Like that's not how grief works, or trauma. That was which is an interesting thing about trauma. That's why I want to study trauma.
There is like okay, I will say this, not to like contradict you. There is like a statute of limitations though. Like for example, I don't know if you know what that is. There's like
I don't know about that.
there's like a cutoff. Like for example, you can't grieve someone for like 5 years.
Um,
I don't think. Like come
I
on.
think you can.
You have to like no, because like
Still
they would
can.
want you to move on at that point. Like that's crazy.
Are you talking about like with like someone like dying, or like the loss of a relationship?
Oh, a relationship, I'd say maximum a year. Dying, I'd say like around the same time, maybe like a little bit, like 2 years.
No, I don't have the timeline. I don't like.
I don't know. I feel like
grief
there's a
shouldn't be
limit. There's a
given-
limit.
No, grief shouldn't be given like a timeline because.
No, they're like not really.
What?
Okay, kind of, but it's like it's 2 years is a long time. Okay, 5 years, 5
Uh-huh.
years, 5 years.
Listen.
Come on.
Listen, so I feel like it's just, grief doesn't have like, or any other like trauma doesn't have, because well, at least from like what I've read and researched, it's just like that stuff is stored in your body, and like
That's you. Okay.
it can be stored for a long time, but it can be healed and processed, but I don't think everything is just like healed and processed in this lifetime. I don't think everything can be healed and processed, because that's like putting like that expectation on people that are still grieving. They could be still grieving like their dead grandmother, and that happened like 10 years ago. So some people are
Okay,
still
wait. I need to like retract my statement and like edit it a bit. On birthdays, of course.
on
and, like,
birthdays.
Like if it's their
Or
birthday.
anniversaries?
Anniversaries, yeah.
Oh,
Like
don't
of their
knock
death.
the dolphin over again.
Why is it even here? Okay, anyways.
Uh,
Anyways, yeah. I'm gonna retract it a little bit. Birthdays, anniversaries of their death, and like I don't know, maybe I missed something else. Okay, that yeah, definitely, because I do that too. Well, like, not that I'm grieving, I just like think about them. I'm like, dang, they died this many years ago, or like, dang, today would have been their birthday, like stuff like that.
yeah.
So yeah, okay, so I do somehow retract my statement a little bit.
Yeah, because my grandmother passed away last Christmas, and I'm still kind of grieving it, but I feel like grieving is more of like a process of like integration, and I don't know if you know what that means. Like kind of like
Put it together or something. Is that what
sort of,
integration
but
is?
like you let that person like inspire you, like as if they were here. Like they're not physically here, but like who they were inspires you to carry on like who they were through you. Like through you, I'm going to live.
Oh, you did say that.
I'm going to be inspired by my grandmother, because she was like very like she believed in the Lord, and um, she was just very like spirit led in her life. So that's the life I want to live. I'm not like I don't want to just be like, oh my gosh, she's dead, now everything's like gone.
Yeah,
Like
that's
part
that's
like
the
she
worst way
is
to think about
she's
it.
physically gone, but
She's with you.
yeah, she's with me
Yeah,
in
that's
spirit.
the way to think about it.
In spirit, quote unquote, in spirit, because some people are like, no, she's with
Yeah.
me in spirit. As far as like other things, like maybe like with past, really, I talk about like how I like used, I like
Old
over.
pictures, right?
No, I talked about like how I would have used the energy that I've used like in past friendships.
Oh yeah, I was just reading the text and I saw you say that.
You just right now?
Well, no, like earlier, like cause I forgot like what some of the conversation was.
I'm gonna throw a chair at you.
This is good stuff here.
I'll throw water at you. I'm just kidding. Um,
Damn, we gotta get men's group. I'm excited for men's group again.
Yeah.
I love doing that. It's so fun.
so basically, I use like the energy. What time do we have? Okay, we have good time. Basically, I use the energy
Doesn't matter
that
now,
I
mate.
would have like in past friendships. I use that and let that use it into like today's relationships. I instead of like, cause I could be like, oh, I'm just like closing my heart out to the world, or I'm building walls up. I'm gonna like avoid all like friendships or relationships. Like if you're like in that grief, you're just gonna be like, oh no, I'm not like trying again. But no, I decided like I'm gonna try again. It's college. I'm gonna try
Yes.
reaching out to
New
people.
opportunities.
It's college.
New opportunities for sure.
So 'cause I think sometimes grief can sometimes like make your world close.
Change is like really important. I feel like
Yeah.
like coming here, this is change. Change is
Yeah.
important for you.
Yeah. So I think like sometimes grief like not that grief I'm not trying to like saying that grief is causing this, but grief can sometimes like make you feel like your world is like closed and there's like no like kind of like you lose hope in the grief
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
That's where it goes into depression, which I'm not gonna talk about depression on this episode.
Different
right
episode.
Now. That's a different episode.
Different episode.
But yeah, I've learned that grief is your friend. It's not your enemy. You don't need to avoid it. I'm saying this like past me because
Okay.
past me would have avoided grief a lot. Like I didn't know how to cry.
Oh yeah, it's being in denial. Yeah, no, I was the same way. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like once you go through it once, you just like learn how to deal with it better.
Yeah, 'cause
That's the whole thing about it. It's just like, like literally anything in life. The more you like go through, besides do it, you'll get better at it.
Yeah, it's just
Embrace more used to it.
yeah, past me, I like how I dealt with grief is just basically pretending that it wasn't there. And I think I did that because I didn't know at the time. I didn't have like the skills that I do now to
Yeah.
deal with grief. So when you don't have the skills, you're just like, well, it's just it's like whatever, it doesn't affect me. Like that's where you have
Yeah.
like that sort of that mask of like I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
you like you just don't understand really. Like I mean. Like,
Oh, you.
someone
Oh,
does.
that's. Oh.
Oh. Okay, I feel like one thing we should. I don't know like how much longer we keep going, but like one thing we should say too. We should like tell the audience how to deal with grief.
How to deal with grief?
So like, ready? I'll go real quick. How to deal with grief.
How to deal with grief?
Okay, well, obviously this is like, this is
Based
our
on your
opinions. This is our
perspective.
opinions. Yeah, our perspectives. I should say. Yeah. So like,
See it there.
everybody would do it. Everyone would do it differently. For me, like I said, this is the last time I'll say it because like I feel like I'm repeating myself. It just takes time, and like I said, you will just like it'll be better. I mean, honestly, going through a traumatic experience really does like make you like I don't know, like it definitely does help you in
Build
the
your-
grand scheme.
Your.
I don't know the word.
So going through like that, I feel like it builds your maturity and it.
That's the word. Yeah.
It helps you to understand and appreciate life more.
Also, because like
That's how I feel.
even because like here's like all men do this. Like we all just like keep things bottled in. This going through grief will help you do that even better. In the sense that like things will just get piled on in your life, and you kind of just like, end up having to deal with it because like, everyone's going through a lot of things. But yeah, it would just add to the more reason for you to distract yourself. Get in the gym. That's like so important. I feel like get in the gym. I don't really know what else to say. It's like I just want to end it off with that. It's like trying to help any
I'll
audience
help
going
the
through
audience.
grief. Yeah.
So like how I deal with grief, I'm always an advocate, a mental health advocate. So I'm like gonna say, see a therapist, like see the therapist. It's like that for me. Seeing a therapist like helped me. I'm not saying like forever. I don't want to like just. I don't like when people just say, oh, you should do this, because that might not always work for everybody. But for me, like just seeing a therapist and talking to her, because I didn't have like the skills or like how to actually deal with grief, so I had to like see a therapist. And I don't feel any shame. I don't feel as much shame about it anymore. Um, you know, there's like they want to help you process it. Because you need like that like outside. I needed that outside person to like sort of have that perspective, so I can help process it and change my perspective like while going through it. Do you
Yeah.
understand? Like, are you like?
Sorry. No, I know, I do.
So
Yeah, no, yeah, the best thing to do is just to like, crap, I just lost what I
but
was saying.
everyone just deals with their grief differently. I listen to sad music. I listen to a lot of sad music when I'm.
That does
going
help.
through grief.
Does she? Yeah, no, that does
Like,
help. In like a weird way. I don't know why that would help, because like you think it'd make you more sad.
Yeah.
It kind of does, but it's like, I don't know, it's just like, it's really good for some reason.
Like-
I don't even know how to explain that,
Like
actually.
mid 2000s rock.
That's actually a good point. Music. We should have, yeah.
Music helps. Music has always been like healing for me, and dealing with like grief, and like music helps me
It's just relatable.
express things that I can't always like. If you're journaling, sometimes you can't like always know how to express it. So like if you're hearing it, and if it's like that's a different podcast episode. That's a different episode.
You're right.
But that's like one of the ways to deal with grief. I think everyone has their own unique way of dealing with grief.
Trial and error.
Yeah, I think it's like a more of like trying and just obviously denial doesn't work, but it can, maybe it might like feel like.
Well, I feel like you going through denial, you learned that it didn't work.
Yeah,
Like,
like
you wouldn't have known
like,
otherwise.
it might be protective because like unconsciously you don't know that that's what you're doing, but that's why you have to have grace for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really
Do you
know.
have anything else to say?
Let me think. Cause I had a thought in my mind, but I'm like, I just
Trauma?
forgot
We
it.
don't talk about trauma.
Did we already do that?
No, we did mostly grief. We can do trauma different like episode.
We can do a different episode. Cause,
Yeah.
cause like, we're already like, yeah, we can do
Yeah.
a different episode. We can should we just sign off then?
Yeah. I just want to say that Demetri, and we've talked about this. I just want to say you've I'm glad to have met you, and yeah.
Yeah, but me too. Well, like I said,
What?
I said yeah, me too. I'm glad I
Okay.
met you. What do you think I meant?
Okay.
No, like I was saying though. Wait, this you can say. There's like 30 seconds. I mean, I probably, like I said, I wouldn't have like I feel like I would not have like expanded my horizons as much, because you're the one who was like, let's go to this event, let's go to this event, let's go to this event. I'm not even kidding. I like probably would. I mean, okay, well, I would have been less inclined to do so, because obviously
Yeah.
going there with someone else is more comfortable than going there by yourself.
So yeah, I'm just saying that I'm glad that you're a part of the Men's Couch podcast.
It's fun.
We're
like helping like. If I don't even know if anyone's listening, but maybe we're helping. Maybe we're helping. Like, hey, if we can have one person, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Even if it's only one person, that'd be sick.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do for the podcast, I'm trying to do like more like affirmations, like maybe at the end of the podcast, like we all affirm each other, like we're kind of like all saying things that.
You know, like positive things about each other. Was that?
Yeah, because I feel like men can be uncomfortable with that, because it's like.
That is kind of uncomfortable.
It is.
That is
It's uncomfortable to
that
say
is
that.
uncomfortable. I'm not even gonna lie.
Cause it's like, well, what are you like? What's going on here? So I think that's like I'm trying to get more
That is
comfortable
uncomfortable.
saying that, and like saying like, hey, I'm like very thankful to have your friendship and thankful.
Why is that uncomfortable? I just thought of that. Right? Okay, that could be a different
I
time.
have-
That's a different topic.
Listen to my other podcast episodes, because I do talk about that. Listen
Okay.
to those other ones.
Anyone who made it this far, we appreciate you guys listening, because we definitely rambled like a lot. I feel like we probably repeated ourselves a little bit. So anyone that made it through this whole thing, you guys are real ones, or
That's
women,
okay.
or women.
I love
Okay.
you, Demetri.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
All right, wait. Are we done?
Yeah.
Oh wait. We gotta do the outro. Do we have an
Do you
outro?
want to do the outro?
Okay, I'll say it again. Thanks everyone for listening. Shout out to okay, it's not your podcast. I guess it's our podcast.
Yeah, it's our podcast.
Thank you guys for listening.
Okay, so I love you, Alex, Daniel, Marm.
We love you guys.
Am I forgetting someone?
That's amazing.
And all the other men that
you said Marm, even though he's never been on the podcast. Alright, we're done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
We're signing off.
Big laugh. Oh, we didn't do it yet.